Good morning. Today we're going to talk about Henri Perrin. He's born in France, April 13th, 1914. And he and a number of young priests during World War II, there was a number of people, French men that were consigned to go and work in the German factories. And he had become a priest, Henri had, and he thought this might be a good idea to go along with them and to help provide spiritual support. So he does. He goes with them. But as a part of that, he's put in a factory. He didn't say he's a priest. He's put in a factory. He's working with them. And it doesn't take long, and they figure it out. And he gets put in prison by the Germans for pulling off this kind of secrecy. And he gets sent back to France eventually. Well, in France, he's talking to priests about the experience he had in this German factory. And so he said, maybe we should enter into this world, because a lot of the industrial workers are not part of our church. We're with much more of the rich and the bourgeois of France. So maybe we should spend our days in church, in a factory, and thereby we get more in touch and we can be able to evangelize these people. So he does just that. And he goes in and they start working in the factories. He worked in a plastic factory. And the interesting thing was people did find out that he was a priest, but he found that he got a feeling of respect and camaraderie that he had never gotten in the parish. He felt like it was really genuine. And as a part of that, the labor movement has connected with the unions, and that will relate to some problems. But he had an interesting quote. He says, "The presence of priests really living among the masses seems to me a necessary condition of reform and progress." And he's talking about the church. And the church will make progress in Vatican II and maybe take some of these thinking. But at the time, the Vatican was very threatened by this. And so they started this around 1947 or so. It got going pretty big with quite a number of priests doing this. And by 1954, it's totally shut down by the Vatican. And they're very concerned about the priests being contaminated by the world. And this thought was a thought that's much deeper, where the world is all wicked and we have to keep these priests real, isolated. That's from the Vatican's point of view. But the point is, it was suspended, and he didn't know what to do when this occurred. He couldn't see leaving the priesthood. He just couldn't do it. He was very discouraged. And part of the reason, by the way, that the Vatican curtailed it is because these priests were well respected. They tended to become union people. There were strikes, there was strife. And the unions very much were aligned with the Communist Party, and the Vatican was very much against communism, as way back in those days following the war, there was a lot of pushback against that. So there's some reasonableness to it, but it was really a confining thing. So Henri has to discern, what should he do? He can't just ignore all the stuff that he's learned by being with the people. And yet, at the other hand, he's taken a vow of obedience. And how does he wrestle with this? While he's wrestling with this, he gets in a motorcycle accident and dies. That's just a few months later. So he died October 25th, 1954. But the challenge of the worker priest wasn't forgotten. It was very much considered later by the bishops in Vatican II. A lot of them understood that there was something there. There's something in the world that's extremely good. When I think of myself, and I'm a deacon, and a lot of the deacons, one of the advantages we've had is we are in the working world. I'm not retired, but mostly we're in the working world, right there with the people, and we're seeing it. And when I was working at BMICO, I often would have guys come in and ask me about this or that and give me counsel, and that helped me a lot. But I think all of us, as we're in the real environments of our day and our world, we have a chance to bring the church to the people. And the people are whoever it is we encounter, whether it's our kids or our co-workers or the people walking along down the street. Let's take that opportunity today. Let's bring the church to the world and the world to the church. Thanks.